Today on Locked On Rockies, over under 71 wins. What you think?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 21st day of June in the year 2022. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network as well. Your team every day. Happy to be your first listen. Now, again, if you're quite curious who this guy is, I've been doing this podcast for over a year now, loving the Rockies my entire life, helping break things down for you today. We got new win totals from our friend at BetOnline, and I kind of want to compare the Rockies and compare some similar win totals to other teams to see where the Rockies are kind of stacking up against some teams in the across the league, and as well as tonight, in kind of a comparison between the Rockies and these teams as well. So let's just start with the new line for the Rockies from our friends at BetOnline. If you wanted to get in on the win total now for the Rockies, it is now at 71 games. That's a game and a half increase for the Rockies since the start of the year. Interesting that with everything that's happened, with everything that we've seen, with the lack of Chris Bryant in the lineup for this team, the team, longest losing streak, all these defensive errors, all the issues we've seen, it's interesting the Rockies win total actually increases, not by much. I mean, there's not a huge difference between 69 and 71 wins, but you feel a little bit better if you get to the 70 count than you do if you are stuck in the 60s. And I said at the beginning of the year, I said going into this, I mean, a mid-70s run isn't that crazy for this Colorado Rockies team. This isn't a team we've seen now that this team isn't up to snuff with some of these other teams, at least the way they're performing right now. And honestly, the way it's constructed, I mean, there's too much worries about the depth. There's too much worries about some players not performing the way they need to. And there's too many issues so far with the bullpen, especially. But when we look at what's going on here in some of the other trends we see from our friends at BetOnline, let's take a look at who the Rockies are playing tonight. The Marlins have increased their total for this season up to 79. They opened the season at 76 and a half. And that's, I don't look at the Marlins and I think, wow, they're a much better team than the Rockies. I do look at the Marlins and say, wow, they have a lot of interesting pieces and that are much better than the Rockies in terms of, I think their pitching staff is elite there in Miami, but the Rockies have a better offense. However, the Marlins don't have to play in the NL West. I think a big thing that's going into some of these is the fact that the NL West is going to play a massive role when you're comparing teams to teams like the Marlins when it comes to win total, because the NL East is what I consider a weaker division. Yes, there's teams that are playing very well. Like, let's make it abundantly clear here. But it took Atlanta going on an 11-game win streak to get themselves back into the relevancy conversation there. The Mets are, of course, really, really good, but the Mets have a dominating lead there. The Braves aren't doing much, and now here Miami is still. They've lost a lot of close games, especially because they've had an issue that the Rockies have had where it comes to they can hold, keep them in games, but that offense goes ice cold, lights out quiet, and isn't going to get the job done. Another team that is kind of in the same range, at least in the 70s with the Rockies, that I see here. Two teams actually kind of surprising, one more so than the others. The Mariners have fallen 10 games. They now have, according to BetOnline, they have the Mariners winning nearly 10 less games this season than at the start of the year. The Mariners now projected at 75 and a half. That's obviously the line, but 75 and a half wins for the Mariners. They opened the season at 84 and a half wins. I mean, that is a massive drop off. But when I look at a team like the Mariners, I see more. I see nothing. maybe some names that aren't necessarily gonna like super blow you away, like in terms of what Chris Bryant is supposed to do. But the Mariners have a lot of special players. They have a lot of good players, and they have a lot of they went on and they had a nice stretch of winning series in a row. I think the Mariners could be getting sold short a little bit here, but history obviously not too kind for them. But when you look, and the Mariners are only projected to win, you know, 4.5 more games than the Rockies. Does that kind of give you the idea that these two teams are closer than we think? But I don't know. I don't really think so. When I look at the Marlins, I look at a team that has a couple of more, that has a deeper farm system, that has a bunch of interesting players, ones that they made some trades for. So I just think that that's one of the interesting comparisons. There are the Marlins, or are the Mariners fallen off that bad? Have they taken that big of a step backwards in the first half of the season, that they're going to knock themselves out of the 80 win total? A team that won 90 ball games last year, now projected to only win in the mid 70s. I don't know if I'm buying that, but I am buying the Rangers at 75 here. The Texas Rangers have improved from 73 wins, 73 and a half wins to 75 wins. That's a team that I think that's right where they were going to be, and that's where they expected to be. 75 wins is a solid start for this new look Rangers team, as they wait for people to get in there, wait for people to kind of come up through their system as well, and get themselves in a position. The NL West, or the AL West, is now shaping out to be what was projected to be a slobber knocker of a division. It could be a little more interesting with the struggles of a lot of teams in there, and that includes the team that's leading everything, the Houston Astros. However, the Astros are projected at 95 wins with a 2.5 game increase there. The Astros clearly in the driver's seat still there. The A's you're not going to worry too much about, but the Angels and the Mariners, the disappointment of the season continues for them. And I know when it comes, those teams were supposed to perform more than the Rockies. So it's interesting to see that the Rockies getting the increased win total there, even though I would say the Rockies have been on the bus struggling. Now, the Rockies didn't win 14 or lose 14 games in a row. The Rockies haven't, gotten, well, that's not true. They have gotten a lot of underperformance from their pitching staff and from their pitchers. So it's just interesting when you look here at some of these other teams that are below the Rockies in terms of projected wins and loss totals. We'll dive into that here in just a moment. But before we do that, got to tell you about some of the great people that make this show possible. And that starts with you, actually, the listener. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. I'd love if you subscribe to Locked On Rockies. And I forgot to mention this at the top of the show, but today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. Let me tell you a little bit more about our friends at Rock Auto. They've been partnering with us this whole time. Rock Auto. But anyway, rockauto.com is the place to go if you need your car or truck fixed. Get the right piece, get the right part, and save money while you do it, and save time. Don't go down to the store and have someone just look up on things on the computer for you. You're more than capable of doing that yourself and doing that for you. So get out there and go make sure that you're checking out everything that they have at rockauto.com. And why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every single customer. Go explore the easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. In the win totals here for the Rockies, it's a interesting I need to get back to my win totals here. Oh, actually, I have it on this screen. See, I'm in my new setup, or my mobile setup, so I don't have all my stuff. Some teams that have actually fallen, and teams that are projected to finish below the Rockies. The Reds, which I think was inevitable. The Guardians have fallen, or have actually improved a huge amount there. The Orioles projected to finish below the Rockies. The Cubs selected to finish below the Rockies. And the Tigers, all these teams were the Tigers, the Cubs, two teams that were projected at the beginning of the season from our friends at BetOnline to outperform the Rockies. The Tigers were projected to outperform the Rockies greatly at the beginning of the year. Opened at 78.5 wins. They're down to 69.5 wins. That's where the Rockies opened up the season at. The Royals, 67.5 games. They were projected to win 75.5. Another team projected more wins than the Rockies. The Marlins, they're still projected above the Rockies, still projected to finish above the Rockies. A team that we're seeing this real soon and has increased as well is the Twins. The Minnesota Twins have really done a good number of turning on the season because Byron Buxton is literally insane and really good at the game of baseball. They opened up at 77.5 wins, and now they're at 84.5 wins. They're according to our friends at BetOnline. The Athletics actually were projected still to be better than the Rockies. I guess not still, because they've dropped to 63.5 games projected win this year. When they opened the season at 72.5 wins, which was more than what the Rockies were projected at 69.5. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if I missed anybody. Let's see. Yeah, no. So it's that was the interesting stuff I think that I was seeing from the Rockies. They are still projected to finish below or in the bottom of the division. Here's an interesting one for you too. Diamondbacks projected to finish now 3 games above the Rockies at 74, according to BetOnline, but they opened up at 65.5 games. That is a massive swing for the D-backs there. And again, not one I'm necessarily going to sit there and agree with. I think the Rockies can outperform the D-backs still. I know the D-backs have special stuff too, but I don't think there's anything that screams that you should be buying high on the D-backs, other than the fact that they played the Rockies really well. And if you want to go there, but if you take a look at what the D-backs have been up to lately here, lost to the Padres last night, 32-37 at the moment here for the D-backs. When you look at their last stretch of games there, they just played the Twins and beat the Twins in a series there. Took 2 out of 3 against the Twins. Lost the series against the Reds. Lost the series against the Phillies. And so not a bad stretch of ball here for the Diamondbacks, but the Diamondbacks are doing the same, or have a similar issue so far this season that we've seen: their inability to beat the bad teams. When you're scrolling through here, the Pirates gave the Diamondbacks a hassle, taking a series and even blanking them. The Reds, again, the Diamondbacks get a series win in Cincinnati again, or lose a series or split a series. He has a 4-game set here. Split a 4-game set in Cincinnati before the Cincinnati Reds come in to town and beat the Diamondbacks 2 out of 3. But they bounce back and go take down the Twins in a series. That's a good series for them to be in. So there's some interesting stuff with the D-backs there. But again, I'm not buying it. I'm not fully sold that the Diamondbacks are such a much better team than the Rockies. I don't think they've necessarily proven that anything they're doing is much better than the Rockies. Now, they've won more games than the Rockies this year. That is something that we do have to consider, but it's only 2 more games than the Rockies this year. They've also played 2 more games than the Rockies this year. So they have the same number of losses, the 2 teams. They just have the tying, or the 2 more games played by the D-backs, and of course the series split. So when I see these win totals, when I see projected NL West standings, I'm not buying it. I really am not buying Rockies in last place in the NL West. I'm not buying the Rockies at the top of the NL West. I'm not buying the Rockies at 3rd in the NL West. Yes, this is me doing a fight for 4th place in this organization, but that's honestly something you got to be looking at. You got to be doing, because it's not going to be out of the realm of possibility that most, if not all, the wild card contestants, what participants, whoever gets the wild card, one, if not two of them are going to come from the NL West. There's no way that you're going to keep all three of those teams out of the playoffs if they're successful. And if you're, knocking on that door, if the end of the season comes down to it and the Padres only finish 5 games above you, let's say, and they make it into the wild card, that's not too far off. That's way better than what you thought, especially if you're in that 5-game range. Maybe you get to that, if the Padres finish in the 80 win range, or whoever, the Giants, the high 80 win range, if you're flirting down there with the high 70s, low 80s, you're in a good position. However, the Rockies have to do that. The Rockies have to put together a big stretch of winning baseball. 3 games in a row and a sweep at home is great, but look at what that came off the heels of, and look what it, it followed a month, a continued month of inconsistency, sloppy baseball, and bad stuff. However, the Rockies could be getting their, one of the biggest and most important weapons back as soon as the middle of this week or heading into the weekend, with Chris Bryant hopefully being eyed to return to the club in Minnesota. The final kind of breakdown, the final thoughts of everything of that win total is, I think a lot of people realize that 60 wins is a little low for the Rockies right now. For people, for the context, like for what BetOnline's early projections were for the Rockies are now slated to win 39. They would be projected to win only 39 of the remaining games, and there are almost still 100 of them. What is that? There's 97 games left, I think, maybe around that, 96, 97 games left in the season, and the Rockies projected to lose over 2/3 of those. I don't know. I don't really know. The Rockies have shown before that they do have some good success in the second halves of some seasons. It's not always the case. But if we're going in recent, they were a better team in the second half versus the first half of the year last year. I just don't see the Rockies going out and dropping all of those games. I do see the Rockies winning at least 40 plus ball games throughout the rest, because again, they've played the Padres well. The division's going to be tough. That's going to be a big factor. But again, you still have a stint here with the Pirates. You still have the time. You still got some opponents. You still have so much baseball left to be played. But the schedule really does not get any easier for the Rockies, as I'm doing kind of a quick scroll. The Rockies' easiest part of their schedule is definitely over and done with. That is one thing to be considering and factoring there. The Rockies are going to be in the thick of the division, especially in July here. At the end of this month, the Rockies will play a home series against the Dodgers, and then the Diamondbacks will follow. Then it's a division road trip against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, and the Padres come into town before the Pirates come into town in July. So you are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight divisional matchups to start July and to end June. That's going to be your big barometer. And that's going to be the big barometer for those other teams as well. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and talked about it before the first series against the Padres with Javi Reyes. If the Rockies continue to play the Padres well, they will continue to be the thorn in the side for that team making a playoff run. The Rockies need to beat the Diamondbacks. The Rockies need to be better than the Diamondbacks. I really do think that's something they need to improve on. They need to play the Diamondbacks better. The Giants and the Dodgers are a whole other ball game. The Dodgers, again, are a powerhouse, kind of, again, cooling off a little bit, but again, it's the Dodgers. They're really, really good. And if you're curious, the Dodgers actually did go down in terms of win totals on BetOnline by 1.5 games, from 96.5 to 95. The Padres have had a big jump, 88.5 games up to 92.5 games. The Giants increased from 85.5 to 89. Every single team in the NL West has a win total improvement. No one in the NL West is having a total wins reduction. So everyone thinks, or at least BetOnline is thinking, the Rockies are getting better. The NL West is getting better as the season goes on. Now, has that been the case? A little bit. Again, this Padres series could be something that really turns things around for the club, but My big conversation, my big thing for the Rockies going into Miami is the pitching. The really, really good pitching of the Miami Marlins. I'm also looking up I'm trying to get a stat ready to go. Okay, here we go. See if I can pull that up. Anyway, but before we dive into the matchup tonight, before we dive into Marlins Rockies talk, let's dive in. Let's chat about our friends at Built Bar and the NBA draft night coverage going on here. One live NBA draft show is not enough for Locked On. The entire NBA is going live for NBA draft night. That includes Locked On Nuggets. So if you have a favorite NBA team, make sure you subscribe right now to their Locked On YouTube channel so you get notified when they go live on NBA draft night. And our friends at BetOnline got you covered for your snacking needs at the NBA draft. But guess what? The mud pie, it's here. And there's a new amazing flavor from Built Bar. And you're like, mud pie? I don't necessarily know if that's encouraging. I don't know if that sounds delicious. Well, it is, because guess what? If you're a chocolate fan, you better sit down for this. The new mud pie is rich whipped cream and chocolate mousse, smothered in 100% real chocolate and topped with cookies and cream crumble. You've got to try mud pie as soon as possible, and you need to hurry because the mud pie bar and mud pie puff are only available for a limited time. Visit Built.com to taste the deliciousness for yourself. Not convinced? Luckily, we saved the best for last. It's actually good for you. No, really, all Built products are low calories, high protein, and low sugar. Mud pie is packed with 16 grams of protein and only 150 calories and 8 grams of sugar. It's like your mom baked the most delicious creamy chocolate mud pie and wrapped it up just for you. Chocolate mousse, whipped cream, cookies, and cream crumble. Stop drooling. Get to Built.com to order your box of mud pie bars and puffs now. You won't regret it. Go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCK15. That's Built.com with the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off at Built.com. The Rockies head to Miami, and they have to face a pitching staff that is good, an electric pitching staff that has really, really, really done well against some teams, and is really exciting. I mean, this is a Marlins team that would be much better, and actually is much better than their record shows. This is a team that, 29-36, right around where the Rockies are at in terms of that. But when you're when you're looking for something to kind of latch onto about what can be the foundation, the Marlins really do have a good pitching staff, and that is something you can really do. And a really, really exciting shortstop as well in the form of Jazz Chisholm. But the Rockies are, let's see, I'm trying to pull this up. All time, the Marlins are 114 and 106 against the Rockies at home. The Marlins are 70-39. 70-39 for the, if I'm reading this right, from mcubed.net. That's huge. I always have thought about this, that the Rockies struggle mightily in Miami. They always go down there and have a tough time playing the Marlins in Miami. It's very, very tough for them to go out there. The Marlins with a 64.2% win percentage at home versus this away percentage at 44-67. Look at that. That's a massive shift. That's a massive shift in difference of overall record versus the Rockies. The Marlins being nearly 30, they are 31 games above 500 all time against the Rockies in Miami. Again, this is a series that, again, if you back up your sweep of the Padres with a nice series win in Miami, that's 5 out of 6 games of winning. That's really good. Those are the type of stretches. These are the things the Rockies are going to need to do to hit an increased win total. These are the things the Rockies are going to need to do to avoid the basement of the NL West. These are the things the Rockies are going to have to do to make sure that they are still relevant in the conversation at the end of the year. This is the type of stretch, and you got to go do it in places that you struggle. It's time for the Rockies to if they're going to show that you're for real, if they're going to show that you're ultra competitive, you got to go into environments against teams that aren't big powerhouses and win. And that starts with changing the luck in Miami and going out there into this series and winning and starting it off tonight, starting it off with a good first series win for the Rockies. Is it a 4-game or 3-game set? Looks like it's a 3-game set because I want to make sure. Yep, it's a 3-game set. So again, your opportunity to put yourself in the driver's seat to win the series is right now. Win game 1. Go out there, go on the road, keep the offensive momentum alive, keep hitting home runs. Ryan Feltner getting the start today. Daniel Castano for the Mets. It looks like it's a couple of young guys here, a couple of people that haven't started a ton of stuff this year. Feltner, though, has been around for a bit, got a little bit of time there with the Rockies, and I'm really hoping this didn't just shut down my stream. Okay, cool. We're back. Okay, it was just loading up there for a second, but honestly, with that little scare with me being on the mobile thing, I'm gonna wrap the podcast up because we got a full pod. We've had a good conversation today, and everything is done. But at the end of the day, I want the Rockies to go in there, have back Feltner up, and win a game in a place that's been so hard for them to win at. Folks, that's going to do it for me and for Locked On Rockies today. If you follow us on Twitter, you're staying up to date with the show and everything that we do. Your subscription to the YouTube channel is a massive, massive help, and all of your support on this streaming services is great. You guys have also been so wonderful this season. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Don't miss all the NBA coverage going on for the mock for the draft night, including the mock draft special that's going on as well. And of course, thank you all for listening. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.